Mbere North is in the village of where? When you're constantly representing Mbere North people who live in homesteads and Ushago in this housing levy, are you representing them or you? Because they already have their villages, they already have homes, they have their land. They don't need you to come and build flats for them. It's not affordable housing for me in Oyugis. I already have a home. I already have my matope or whatever thing that we already built, ancestral land. So when you are campaigning for me for the housing levy, are you campaigning for me to build a house in Nairobi so that I come live in it? Or, as when we look at the general 47 counties, there are so many people who didn't need to speak about housing levy because the people they represent do not need the housing levy. They already have the villages.
Article 32. Every person has inherent dignity, and this right must be respected and protected. Now, tell me, what respect to a human's dignity is it when you deny them an opportunity to access quality education? You want them to forever remain dumb? And you're saying they have to go to a community, integrate, and be productive when you're denying them empowerment? Tell me what dignity it is kwenda kubomolea watu along riparian land, especially because ni watu wa slums, and leave other riparian land sitters in Runda or Lavington, because you're indignifying these people, one, because of the situation you've put them of vulnerability. You've continuously impoverished them so that you can take advantage of their poverty. Tell me what dignity is paying young people because they are unemployed to go to the streets to beat other peaceful protesters just because you feel your government. So when we start to look at life, and I think even in Article 10, which speaks to the national values, equality is one mentioned one, public participation, non-discrimination, fairness. These are things that bring about dignity to people's lives. Tell me what is indignity in the president lying to Kenyans every day that nimetenga, tutatengeneza, tutafanya, and then a whole year goes, no project has been completed. Tell me what is dignity when the president appoints a cabinet that is not competent, fires it, and like my sister has asked, in only 2 weeks, they are reconsidered for the same position as if the whole world has changed in 2 weeks and all these people now become angels. There is no dignity in that.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from where you're watching us all over the world. Welcome to 8K TV, the Smile Podcast. So with me today, I have amazing people around me. So with no much further ado, I would like them to introduce themselves, starting from my right. Yes, we have a very good gentleman here. He can introduce himself.
Thank you very much. And just like my host said, from wherever you're tuning in, I'm Musila John Muisio, a social rights activist, and I'm elated to be here today, of course, to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, and to my left, a very amazing lady. We are proud to have her today here. I will let her introduce herself.
Good morning. My name is Christy, and I'm a disaster responder. So yes, happy to be here. Yeah.
And today, not forgetting, I'm your host. My name is Mesh the Dancer. I am also a champion in the community, trying to create good leadership skills from wherever I am possibly situated in. Trying to tell the youth that it is time for us to rise up against all odds. And the diabolical nature of our forefathers who founded the Constitution, they said the sovereignty of the people, the sovereignty of the country rests with the people, and that is all power reigns with the people and shall be participated with them. And it may be passed to. Shall means it's mandatory. May it's a condition. So under these circumstances, we have seen so many anti-government riots and protests against this government, and we want to delve into how has it been, what has it been impactful to the country, has it helped us or has it drawn us back? I'm here with some great minds. I want to get their insight. So first and foremost, has the revolution got its meaning? Has the revolution got its meaning? Yes. Yeah, it's you.
Let us start first by identifying what this is.
Yes.
This is not an anti-government uprising.
Yes.
This is an uprising for good governance. With government or this government or any other government, the uprising is purely about good governance, where we are saying we cannot continue to tolerate wastage of public resources. We cannot continue to tolerate corruption. We cannot continue to tolerate nepotism. We cannot in any way continue to tolerate the largesse that have been witnessed in this government. And by this I mean the extravagance. You imagine a cabinet secretary who's only served for 2 years, almost procuring for an helicopter with a salary of about 1 million. How can that be? And these are the things we are speaking against. We are equally speaking about a leadership that does not listen to its people.
Yes.
Because the Article 1, which we are referencing every often, says quite clearly that the sovereignty belongs to the people and shall be exercised in accordance to this constitution.
True.
So there is nothing that is against the constitution that this movement is about. This movement is about everything constitutional, demanding for accountability and placing people who have the duty of care for Kenyans to task to ensure they deliver for the better of Kenyan lives. We cannot sit back and continue to tolerate how the cost of living has become so unbearable and having people sleep hungry almost every day. We cannot continue to tolerate a government that keeps promising and taking no action. Yet we go to hospitals where we cannot get doctors, we cannot find medicines, and our patients are struggling in these facilities. So we just want to reiterate that this is not about anti-government. This is about good governance, which we stand on, and we are not going to stop any soon.
A very good point, and I would like to pass the baton to my fellow guest here. My friend and our brother has talked about the Constitution. The people who wrote it down, they were very sound, and they gave us the leewis, the do's and don'ts. Do you think, is it serving its purpose?
I think the Constitution is very clear on what needs to be done in terms of the guidelines, in terms of what boundaries are there for who to do what where, roles of all the arms of government, and who plays what. And as he's saying, it's very clear that nobody is coming to say we want your job. We are not taking your job. We are just sending a reminder that we have watched you for a while, and our silence is leading us down the drain. And so Kenyans and the young people at large are just saying, look at what you've done so far, please review. Please hold people accountable to these billions of money you're saying we owe, but we can't see the projects it's done. Because you cannot continuously say that we have such a huge debt, but no one can list them down fully, and no one can list down fully what projects those loans funded.
Yes.
If you take, for example, a World Bank loan, and it's meant for a certain road, and that road or a dam or whatever was never constructed, and we can't account for this money, then you're telling me that I should pay for it, and my children's children will pay for it, then I'm supposed to be able to speak up. So the Constitution is there. It's the continuous mentality that people can get away with anything while in power. That's the problem. It is not that they're ignorant of what the Constitution is saying. It is not that the courts and the legal processes cannot hold these people accountable. One, I think we are continuously governed by bullies who threaten the system and the people working within the system. So then, because you're still in power and because I know you will come at me or my family or whatever, then we let a lot of things slide because EACC is there. Everyone who's supposed to be dealing with anti-corruption issues, and look at EACC over the years, how every time certain people are threatened or when they start holding certain people accountable, there's a lot of push to clean it out. There's a lot of push to, this is not serving us anymore. We should actually close this thing. It's not working for the benefit of the people. Yet it's actually just working for the benefit, not working for 1% of the society. So when you're saying that the Constitution is there, yes, it's supposed to achieve what it is supposed to be. Yes. The problem is the people we continuously elect, who then decide to abuse their power. And also, as he said, nepotism, tribalism, the our people thing. Because someone asked a very valid question about someone has been called corrupt, and billions have been lost. And then you say, leave that person is our own. Yet in your own constituency, your students don't have classrooms. They do not have proper latrines. They do not get meals in school. I'm looking at it from that angle. Then this person who is your own, why is he so selfish? Because then eat a percentage if you decided, but left the projects that needed to be done. Make sure the hospitals are there. Make sure the schools are fully equipped. Make sure that the basic needs of your constituents are served before you go and claim there that I'm a Luo. True. You don't hold me down as a Luo, making sure that everything I need in terms of that tribal, if that's how we want to look at it, is covered. Then I can stand for you then. But otherwise, the conversation now is that we are not looking at tribe. We are not looking at your title. We are not looking at who you know. All we are asking for you as a leader and a position you chose to fight for, to get. Because nobody comes to your house and says, boss, please, tomorrow we want you to be an MP. It's something you have to be willing to go through the process, be nominated, and all these things. So we are saying, do your job, and when you do it wrong, allow us to correct you. And when we correct you, listen and fix it. Don't chest stamp. Don't show us that, yes, I hear you, but I'll do what I want, because that's what's happening right now. We've been told the past few weeks that you talked, I have listened. Then you see the list of the CSS and you're like, dude, which part of listening did you do? Like, the list is so clear. Everyone you removed, you've literally brought all of them back. So what was the point? Because removing them was a sign of these people don't qualify. And you agreed with Kenyans that they don't qualify. So you send them off. There was a notice and they left. So in 2 weeks, did the education level, did their work ethics, did the corruption scandals, did all these things that are coming after them suddenly disappear, that now they should be vetted again? And our money, the tax money, is going to be used to vet them again in those sitting houses, so that the same people can come back to work. Doesn't make sense.
Okay, throwing the spanner into the works, you've alluded to so many things, but I'd love us to talk about one thing exactly. That's the system. Since a time immemorial, people have said we have a system. What is this system? And is this system working for us? Some people and netizens will love to complain about the system is rotten, the system is rotten. What is this system, my brother? Can you at least share some light on it?
You see, this is a very good question, and I think I will closely tied to what you asked, if this constitution is working. Because basically what the constitution is a manuscript of what a country should look like. From Article 1 to the last article, I think in chapter 18, we have 18 chapters. And in a few chapters in there is an outline of what exactly a government looks like. Where we have an executive that is headed by the president with a cabinet secretary, and all the other ministries have departments which must actually purpose to serve the common interest of the common mwananchi. Then we have a legislature that should make laws that align to the betterment of the lives of all Kenyans from across all walks. And then we have the judiciary that must support in interpreting this constitution and protecting people from policy ambayo inaweza tengenezwa na serikali which is not consistent to the vision of this constitution. So this is basically what the system is. The system is, if this works properly, then it is going to serve the people. Politically, somebody would say a system is who enables the politicians to get to power. But you see, we are not in the business of discussing politics now. We're in the business of discussing the lives of Kenyans. That Kenyan from Kailuk, that Kenyan from Turkana, who has never even set foot to Nairobi, who does not know what parliament looks like, what essential services must they benefit from the government?
True.
Do they have access to food? Do they have access to proper education, actually quality education? Do they have access to quality healthcare? And when all these are failing, then basically the system is failing. And this system can start to be interpreted now in the hierarchy of leadership.
True.
What is the presidency supposed to do to ensure that person from that remote area in Baringo gets access to these services we're talking about? The parliament should be able to equally enforce that we've allocated a budget through the appropriations bill, now Appropriations Act. We have financed it through the finance bill. The presidency has been given this budget to implement with this cabinet. What are they doing to protect that resource from embezzlement? When they again fail, the system is failing. But what is the net effect of just a few individuals failing? The net effect is the majority of the population continues to suffer at the expense of only a small minority. And look at it. They will live very comfortable lives when in power and even after power, because they get some good salaries. If you compare the MP's salary across board, Kenya is almost among the highest paid.
Yes.
And the fact that they have avenues to steal, they can secure a future for themselves. But are they securing a future for Kenyans? Look at what has happened in recent time. The change in the funding mode system for universities. It is only going to make me from Kibera and that other person from very remote areas that their parents cannot raise 300,000, 400,000 to pay for a single semester out of university. What does that mean? It means lack of proper empowerment for our future generation, which again collapses the system. Sasa nani atakuwa anafikiriria hii inchi in terms of industrialization, in terms of economic policy, in terms of legal guidelines ambazo zinaenda kusupport implementation of this constitution? And you see, that is exactly what we are talking about. So yes, a system is no set of individuals. A system is what the constitution provides. A system is what must happen for the betterment of the people of Kenya.
Thank you very much. You talked so much about the system, and I would love us to delve in what the system is. We have elected leaders. That's our mandate, and everybody knows that. Even people from the diaspora did their votes, and we elected those leaders. Are we seeing a situation where leaders are using our votes as ways to enrich themselves? Are we seeing them using this opportunity to serve us as ways of benefiting themselves? They're supposed to be servant leadership, yes. They're supposed to be leaders who are representing what we, all of us, cannot go to the parliament and make laws, but we are representing them to go and at least outline our issues. So are we electing leaders to enrich themselves, or are we electing leaders to serve us? Yes, Christian.
I think the problem is just from the onset of the campaign periods.
Yes.
Because I think the narrative of giving people 50 shillings, 100 shillings, and using so much money to bribe people into voting for you, and then suddenly when you're in power, it's your goal to take it all back. You know? Because if we then run a campaign where we didn't need anything from you and you didn't need to bribe us, then we owe you no money.
Yes.
Yeah, we owe you no money. And now look at the issue of CDF and education. And someone was saying, why do we have to give a politician? And someone was saying, if the moment you remove CDF, you've cut the legs of an MP.
Yes.
Because that's the money they control us with at the moment. Because then, if this CDF money, generally if it's allocated to education, it would educate 1,000 and more children without having to beg the MP to give you this money. Then why do we have it in that account? You get?
Yes.
So the moment someone is already looking for loans, selling their cars, asking for money from friends just to campaign, is already a problem.
Yes.
Because then the moment they get into power, and clearly we've seen this over and over again, is the first 5 years, it's like all they're doing is taking that money back. Then the next 5 years, it's let me try and do a few projects to leave a name for myself. And this one goes straight up the leadership, not even in the ground level. Yeah? So, enriching themselves. I remember there's one time someone in parliament said, But every time you come to our houses, you're asking for money, nini, where do you think we're getting these monies from?
Yes.
So are you trying to tell a Kenyan, you took a job, yeah, and you're going to use their tax to bribe your way into keeping this job, and they can't question you? But the problem here is, naturally, if there was proper health facilities,
Yes.
if there was medication in those hospitals, then I didn't have to come to you as an MP to pay my hospital bill.
True. Yeah.
If there was proper education structures within the schools in our community, then I don't have to come to you and ask you to pay school fee for my child.
True.
So that is what we are suffering from. We have put people in places where they continuously impoverish us, so that we are poor enough to need them long term, so that they continuously give us handouts from what they've taken from us to feel needed.
True.
So yes, they are using the system to take the money. They are using our votes to be in power, because the more I have, the better. And this is an African, I say it's a colonial ingrained thing in us, where there has to be a winner. We can never be in the same level field. So we make jokes on how the Asian community, we call them Waindi here, and how they run their businesses as units and family, and how they drive into the same car, into the same businesses in the neighborhood. Like, if you come from me as a Muindi, I'll buy a tire, and something, everything I need from a car in our own network, because they build each other like that.
Yes.
But then the rest of us, because I can't build you up, I have to win. So the issue of someone always has to be richer than the other, someone always has to have power, is something that we are really struggling with, because then the politicians feel the more money they have, the more secure long term in terms of societal status they will remain.
Yes.
And then you continuously need them as a society. You'll call them, for those Arambes, they come and tell you, let me finish, then I'll give you money. Someone is telling you that with chest at a time when things are so volatile and people are dying and things are happening that someone should even think about the words that they're saying. So I don't know what changes need to be made. I would really, really like to see that happen.
Yes.
Where in the next election period, out of merit, people can be nominated to whatever roles they have without this 50-50, 100, 200 selling cars and getting into loans.
Yes.
So that when they are serving their term and they are serving based on what properties they already have, they don't need to steal to build on what they don't have.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've talked about the system not working, and the people we elected using that power to control us. It has been deemed as the politics of handouts, that they hand us something so that we give them something in return, which is a very bad culture here in Kenya. So during the protests, we saw so many things happen, so many things unfolded. People are trying to just air out their views and tell these people, like, listen, we have seen this happen. So at this point, I would love my friend who is an activist here to tell us the challenges that people faced, because we saw people are being harassed, people are being abducted, people are being done all sorts of things, but we were asking ourselves, the police were put there to protect the protesters. They were put there, number one, to ensure that the businesses were running. But they turned rogue, and some of them, not all of them, some of them did what they did. So as people who are on the ground, because we know you are on the ground, even if you are social media warriors, the keyboard warriors, at least you had an experience of this protest. What was the take? And at least, can you advise us more on the future, ongoing, like, so what is the way forward for the country right now? If there's a future protest again, how should people carry themselves?
You see, this is a very important question, but I feel I still needed to chime into the conversation on, on what our governance has become. And I remembered I didn't say this when I was responding to what the system is.
Yes.
But we all know quite well, if you speak in the Sheng language, that even school is system.
Shule and system.
Like I mean, tulikuwa tunaita system. So our parliament is a system because it is a constitutional provision that sasa hapo ndo wa representative wote wanaenda kukutana. Sasa ubaya hiyo system imekuwa ya majambazi. That hao majambazi wameamua hata kukaa huko kutu represent si biashara yao. Ni biashara yao kujipanga huko ndani venye watatuibia so that they can come back again in future to use the loot to gain our favor again, which is quite unfortunate. And you know, one of the most famous MP kutoka Rift Valley is Oscar Sudi. Alisema yeye ni engineer. Engineer wa kupanga mambo na bunge haendangi. So we've elected him to go to bunge, but yeye anapanga mambo huku nje. And this guy has become rich out of engineering, which is not even conventional, and you wonder what is in there. So they've perfected the art of stealing, and they think every time because we call it corruption, it doesn't mean stealing. This is basically stealing from us now and stealing from our future. And that is something to mechoka, and I agree with Christine there. We must do something against. And the wind of change has already blown.
It has blown.
What the Gen Z movement in this country has done is it has indicated that the culture of unaccountability among elected representatives has to end now. The culture of people in power thinking that they wield the power than they cannot even listen to the common mwananchi has come to an end now. And this wind is not going to stop blowing. It will blow until all trunks of trees, however deep rooted they are pushed down. And this will start from anyone, including if it means Ruto must go. You know, if it is that individual that is the problem, he has to go. But if it is any other person who has no ethical values to be in government and has already thought how he's starting to save for the next campaigns, we're just telling sorry to them. Because the next elections, we are encouraging Kenyans, not only young Kenyans, Kenyans from everywhere, to look at leaders with, one, their moral value, two, their competence to the task, and three, their intention. What is the intention? Are they intending to just go in there because people go in there and do nothing? Are they going to represent what agenda of change do they have for the people of Kenya? And that is a direction that we're going to continue. And how I wish this energy does not die off. You asked about demonstrations and all this. And I think somebody would say the Article 37 is the most misused article in this constitution. But let me speak to Article 32, which I feel people don't speak mostly about. And then I will touch kidogo on Article 43. And I don't even want to dwell in Article 1, because that is where all our power is. Let me dwell on these others that people don't talk about. Article 32. Every person has inherent dignity, and this right must be respected and protected. Now, tell me, what respect to a human's dignity is it when you deny them an opportunity to access quality education? You want them to forever remain dumb? And you're saying they have to go to a community, integrate, and be productive when you're denying them empowerment? Tell me what dignity it is kwenda kubomolea watu along riparian land, especially because ni watu wa slums, and leave other riparian land sitters in Runda or Lavington, because you're indignifying these people, one, because of the situation you've put them of vulnerability. You've continuously impoverished them so that you can take advantage of their poverty. Tell me what dignity is paying young people because they are unemployed to go to the streets to beat other peaceful protesters just because you feel your government. So when we start to look at life, and I think even in Article 10, which speaks to the national values, equality is one mentioned one, public participation, non-discrimination, fairness. These are things that bring about dignity to people's lives. Tell me what is indignity in the president lying to Kenyans every day that nimetenga, tutatengeneza, tutafanya, and then a whole year goes, no project has been completed. Tell me what is dignity when the president appoints a cabinet that is not competent, fires it, and like my sister has asked, in only 2 weeks, they are reconsidered for the same position as if the whole world has changed in 2 weeks and all these people now become angels. There is no dignity in that. Article 43 speaks to the basic social and economic rights of Kenyans. And I've already mentioned to this. Are you dignified to live in the shanties the people of Kibera, Mathare, Kariobangi, Korogocho live in? Adequate housing is one of the most dignifying things. If you even go to the basics, the 3 basic needs: food, shelter, education. Are we meeting these basic ones for Kenyans? Number 2, food. You increase taxation, and I thank God that the finance bill actually went down. And that was actually a bait to throw in bread, so everyone will concentrate on bread and forget other punitive provisions. Fortunately, Kenyans are woke enough. They read the entire document and said, it is not only bread. You only wanted us to speak about bread. We are not that stupid. We will talk about other taxes that are very punitive. But the reality in this country is we are not food secure. And now that we are not food secure, a small donation that comes na tupangisho line tupigwe picha for the government to report that it has fed its people instead of thinking sustainability on how people can feed themselves is indignifying. And that is what we are against. And lastly, education. I've already talked to it in my previous submissions. So I don't think I even need to belabor that. Access to clean water and safe water. The people of Kibra would answer this question better. What was the last time they saw piped water? And what is the connectivity of piped water to Kenyan homesteads in the entire country? It is very small, and it cannot even qualify to say that the government is doing anything to address the question of access to clean and safe water for every Kenyan, among many other things. And I even said decent work. Decent work. And what is this other name for a meaningful salary? Not just work, but for a salary that can equally sustain my life. The government is not doing anything in investment. The government is always telling us tutakutuma ngambo, tumeongea na serikali fulani, they've given us an opportunity for job. Why don't you create the jobs here? Even attract those people from abroad to come and work here, because we've already created enough for our people and we need more from other people. So what I am saying, the young people have a right to exercise all these rights in the Constitution according to Article 37. They have the right to assemble, let alone demonstrating. If young people or even Kenyans want to go and assemble in town, they have a right to just go, sit down, put their microphones and start speaking without being interfered. They have a right to demonstrate that we are not only coming to stand in town, we are coming to make sure town today becomes ours. We are taking every route from Koinange Street to Moi Avenue, tunatembea to town and speak our voices. We have a right to protest and we have a right to present petitions. The police cannot always claim, because the Public Order Act claims that we must present our submissions on what route we will use, why we are demonstrating, and when, and how many people. That in itself, the Public Order Act is inconsistent to the spirit of the Constitution and cannot continue to be used to say at Sasawa we used force because they did not submit their request to, or their notification. We do not request the police to demonstrate. We only notify them. And notification means I can even write them a WhatsApp message, because that is a means of communication. If you read jurisprudence in court, a service can be served either in newspaper, on an email, or posters to the residents of the people I'm serving notice. Whether they receive it or not, it is considered served. So the police have always been served. And lastly, the police are equally Kenyans. When we say we are protecting the country Kenya, we are not protecting for us against the police. The police should be logical enough to know they cannot use excessive force against peaceful demonstrators. What we saw, and we've seen the government continuously do, and it is sad, it is even starting to come back to Kibra. The government is mobilizing young people to go demonstrate against peaceful demonstrators. Who does that? I mean, in all honesty, the government is so clueless that it cannot think the problem here is not counter demonstration, is them delivering on their promises to the people of Kenya. So moving forward, what we expect to see is, one, a police that respects the Constitution, a police that appreciates that these people are on the streets because it is their constitutional right to be there, a police that serves not the interest of a few political masters, but the interest of the Kenyan person and the protection of the Kenyan Constitution. These demonstrations, I cannot say how long they will go, but they can go forever. They can go on forever, and nobody will stop people from exercising their Article 37 right, even if they mean to continue doing it forever. The only thing the government can intend to do is to try and suspend that. And trying to do that, it will just be a proof enough that they have been the sponsors of violence, the mutilators of our constitution, and they have no goodwill in being held accountable, and that is a culture we are all saying no to.
I think for me, in addition to this police issue, I think we saw that, I think it's Crazy Kenna clip.
Yes.
I think that's him.
Yes.
And he was showing, at the end of the day, what the police go back to. And unfortunately, that's a very real scenario for them. And yes, I get it in terms of military service, and you have to do what you're ordered to do. Of course, the president said police act independently and they are liable to whatever they do, which is a lie. Because
we all know it's a lie.
But having been there from day one in terms of medical response and seeing how brutal they get, I think for me, my question in the back of my head was, how frustrated are they? And why is it that they're willingly taking it out on people? And especially on the wrong people? Is it because they can't take it on out on the leadership? Is it that they can't vent at the president? You know, like, you look at the police, look at those videos. Those men are angry. Those men are angry. Like, there's just bitterness and resentment. You know, like that video where they almost nyonged that auntie of that boy who died, who they got killed the other day from a gunshot wound. And you like, already this is a grieving relative, and they're just coming out here to show the world, we lost this one too in this process. And then you bundle them up and throw them in a truck, and one of you is holding her by the neck, not even thinking, first of all, this is a lady, let's basic, but also that this is a grieving person. So for me, I think one of the things that continuously I've really appreciated this season is what we've been able to learn through social media. I don't think Kenyans have ever been this exposed to anything constitutional-wise, anything policy. Yeah, like, you've seen how people are going down to breaking down those things, referrals, taking you to this actually means this is what it means for you. I was looking at the financial breakdowns of money, and someone saying, so what will $1 billion do for you in your county? And you know how many schools, how many hospitals and everything. And I'm wondering if the people fighting against the demonstrators are also seeing the same aspect of it. Because let's leave the political class aside. We've agreed they're there for selfish reasons, and they're going to serve their term. And I've actually decided they're going to want to make enough money so that they never need you again. So that by the time they're done with their term, they can live well with their great-grandchildren covered. But now this one silent majority, as the presidency and everyone else wants to say, there's a group of silent majority people not talking. But what about the rest of Kenyans? Like, does that information really sink in? I'm looking at the rest of the employed people paying for this housing money. And funny enough, we were in a KRA training online one day. Many organizations, and they were taking us through tax issues. And then when they got to the slide for housing levy, they said, oh, we just hold the money, but we don't have any information on this, so we are going to skip this slide. Literally moved on to other things. Like, it was housing levy, full stop. We are holding the money. We do not know where this is going. Our job is to hold it. So we'll skip this, we move on. So when a presidency, and I say presidency because there's enough people involved in making these policies and forcing it down our throats, decides we're going to collect this money, we're going to ask people to take it out of your pockets, regardless of whether you're agreeing or not, regardless of whether we have a plan for it or not. And funny enough, how many people in the government ran to accept it, the politicians? It's because it's a money-making scheme for them.
Yes.
Because one, and look at it simplified. The moment I'm handling this money as a whatever MP, governor, or whoever is handling it,
yes,
I can hire all my family members and my relatives to provide cement,
yeah.
provide, everything to go into these houses will bring money home.
Yes.
So why would I fight against it? So if the president says this makes sense, we have looked at the bigger picture. How many billions are coming down into my county for this housing thing to work? Because why did I'm looking at the Mbere North Ruku. He was spearheading this so much.
Yes.
Consistently on TV, every TV. Mbere North is in the village of where? When you're constantly representing Mbere North people who live in homesteads and Ushago in this housing levy, are you representing them or you? Because they already have their villages, they already have homes, they have their land. They don't need you to come and build flats for them. It's not affordable housing for me in Oyugis. I already have a home. I already have my matope, whatever thing that we already built, ancestral land. So when you are campaigning for me for the housing levy, are you campaigning for me to build a house in Nairobi so that I come live in it? Or, as when we look at the general 47 counties, there are so many people who didn't need to speak about housing levy because the people they represent do not need the housing levy. They already have the villages. And then look at I even said maybe wangechukua pesa wajenge polisi nyumba instead of investing it in whatever bonds and whatever they decided to put it in there. And someone was joking, the government is investing in government to earn profit with our money that they are not using. So a police officer who's living in a Mabati house, half the time they are sharing these houses because those houses are never enough. So you can find that small square has 2 families in it. Those houses, some of them, in fact, most of them, anything happening on this side can be heard. There's no privacy, there's nothing. So you're asking yourself, when these young people are coming out and saying, let's see what the money you're taking from us can do for us as Kenyans. Can it change the situation of the police officer, one, salary-wise? Because police don't have to keep taking 50 bob from matatus the whole day. The whole day, literally the whole day. Because they are not paid enough. And they are risking their lives. I will always say, I'm one of the people who will advocate for police because the job they do, I wouldn't do it. I will not want to be there picking dead bodies, coming for your family quarrels. Always, someone might hold a gun at me for no reason anytime because I'm a police officer. So if these things that people are saying should come into play and hold you accountable, then I should be in town standing there and watching you as long as you're not destroying anyone's property. Then I have an issue with you the moment you start destroying property. But you saw what happened last week on Tuesday, the riders. And the police literally stood watch. They made noise saying, oh, we want peace and everything. And you're like, you know very well these guys don't want peace. And clearly it looks like you have an order to stand down because they did not move an inch. And even the worst part was even when that motorbike guy got attacked. They actually still watched. So how much of an order stands off that someone can be hurt, killed, things burnt right in front of a group of police officers and they don't lift a finger? Doesn't that bother them?
So we've alluded so many facts of the police, and we've alluded so many facts on the constitution. The question remains still: are we moving on to the right direction? Because netizens have said that after 21 days, I beg to concur with you. Is it 21 days that even if the president does not assent that bill, it becomes law? Is it true that after 21 days that bill will become law? And if it becomes law, what will be the normal cry of the normal mwananchi? Because people are saying after the revolution, we saw the president going to the X-Space, listening to the youth and telling them, okay, I have heard you guys, I'm going to make changes. 2 weeks down the line, he called for a dialogue. We don't know who went for the dialogue, but they went they met the president, and the president decided to nominate this new list that we are having today. So, is it true that the president is really working to the bone to make sure that the country is safe from, number one, corruption, number two, from the promises he made to the people? Because when he was campaigning, he was saying, I want to change the system. I want to change the overtaxation. Is he really living to the mandate that the Kenyan people gave him? Because he had a mandate from 50 plus 1 Kenya who elected him to represent their issue. Is it true? Is he doing what he was elected to do?
I find some questions quite interesting, yes, because honestly, I even don't need to interpret this for Kenyans to see that we are dealing with a perennial liar. I mean, what the president does is just lie. And this is not even a question on anything. You look at what we are saying, that we need you to resolve cabinet and appoint competent people. The president lies, he has listened, dismisses the cabinet. The next day, he appoints, I think, 9 out of the few that were, actually almost all of them, to just say the least. Because all the others, again, that I have seen are recycled from the political circle. People who have stolen money in county governments when they were governors, people who've been MPs for the longest time, people who are clueless actually in running a ministry, have been given jobs. For what reasons? Political preservation. So huyu mjamaa kusema tu kweli, tukubali as Kenyans, ni mwongo. And anything he tells us should be regarded as exactly that, a lie. Because I do not foresee any way in the next 3 years Mali president atuambia ukweli. Because it has proven not to work for him. It is not him. Alijaribu na finance bill kabisa tuone kama anaweza kuwa mzuri, lakini roho yake namwambia huyu si mimi jamani. I cannot tell the truth and I cannot stand on it. Let me keep lying. And that is exactly what this presidency is all about. Total liars.
Yes.
And you even look at how things are happening. Rigathi has continuously insisted this is a government of shareholders.
Yes.
Look at the list of cabinets. Somebody just threatened, watu wa Mlima tunataka yetu 8. They still got their 8. I mean, because that is what the system is. Liars and majambazi everywhere. And I don't know. But what the question was what next? Are we headed to the right direction?
Yes.
The direction we are in already is the right direction. It's the direction of accountability.
True.
We want good governance. That is what people in Kenya are asking for. So whether it will take us 1 day or 100 days, we must get good governance, with or without Ruto. With or without the current lot of elected representatives, with or without any populist that thinks they can control the narrative among Kenyan people. Because at the end of the day, we are looking at a situation where we enjoy the fruits of this constitution. It was fought for. And I am very intrigued by what has happened many years back.
Yes.
Imagine in 1964, somebody who was very instrumental in the Mau Mau War before our independence says quite prominently that we hope this uhuru, this independence, this freedom that we fought and gained does not become freedom only for a few. Where it becomes a man-eat-man society. He was very cautious again in the many years back to ask that we do not foresee a situation. This becomes a freedom for a few to exploit others economically and continue the cycle of social inequality. But 60 years later, we are still fighting for against economic exploitation and social inequality, because we've never been intentional in ensuring we fix the mess that the colonizer left with us. And we always go back to them and bow to them and say, oh, you colonized us, you are doing very well to us, you brought some small roads, now give us some more resources, we will continue to preserve your culture here and continue. You see, that cannot continue. So what we are saying is we must get people who can protect the interest of a Kenyan man, of a Kenyan woman, of a Kenyan child, of a Kenyan society. And that is the direction we are standing on. Mpaka tupate.
Okay, you are saying a very good statement, and I would love to tell us we are in a situation where people are saying we're in the neo-colonialism period, because the colonial master went, but the infrastructure, the structure, how he structured his government how we are controlling our own government. So what will be the right solution? And the right solution are gotten by the leaders that we have on the society. But my question will be, as we are trying to wrap it up, that has it come to the attention of the government that they educated a generation that, number one, does not fear them, number two, a generation that is well informed, number three, a generation that is there to fight for their right? Is the government really a testimony to this uprising or to this revolution? Because as you can see, the Constitution clearly says that they have that right, but the government is not listening. So I would like my panelists to at least tell each and every person there their own message to them, so that each and every time you come here at the Smile Podcast, you will be informed. And please don't forget that we are here to inform you, not to do other things that people might say. But to you, my panelists, is the government really listening to us? Is the government listening to us?
I think looking at what has been happening lately, everyone is aware. The government is aware. You've seen how the political class is using the Gen Z conversations to gain political mileage in their conversations, in referral to what they are doing, in wanting to be either a millennial, not too far from Gen Z, or associate with being a Gen Z mother, father, you know. So the conversation is there. The issue of what next is my problem. Why are we in a hurry to do what next? Yet the present hasn't been fixed. If we are still 50-50 debating this financial bill, if we're still here waiting to see what do we do now that he's brought back all these CSS, what do we do now that families were taken back to the jail cell, families that need to go home because they just came to say we lost our loved ones in this process, and that they should have been allowed to do whatever they were doing and let to go home. Why do we need the Justice Kome to come and say, oh, police, you know, you have to give a reason why you are arresting these people before you bring them to court, because these guys will just peacefully demonstrate? It's not like police are not aware. They are aware. The issue is, let's not rush into what next, because that's what political class is using against this process right now. You're being forced to see to 2027, yet we are still trying to do 2024. And we are trying to do 2024 in the aspect of the lives that were lost. Let's start from there. If you do not recognize that, then you're very self-centered. Let's look at the big businesses that were hurt in the process. There's a lot of people who went through losses because of a group of people. And let me tell you, we were aware. We did provide medical support. And in the evening hours, the injuries that came, we were very aware that these were bad people. Because there's no way you have lacerations that deep from demonstrations. You were breaking into a glass, you were doing something illegal that led to that injury. But you see, because of my oath to medical space, I have to give you first aid. We had an interaction with some cops, and there was a bit of threat, and at some point they needed first aid. And because there was a threat earlier, other people were like, no, you guys go away, we can't help you. But we're like, no, we have to help them. We do not choose who to help in terms of medical support. So the conversations around the present should still be validated first. The due process of the legals, the policies, the clauses that need to be removed in certain policies, let's deal with that first. Let's make sure that the people who are in jail, who are not supposed to be there, go home to their families. Let's make sure that the people who are missing can be traced. Where are they? Because if you went from Andaman and you didn't come back home, you're somewhere. Let those people be found. Then let's now look at the awareness that is there now because of this process. let me tell you, even that JKIA thing, nobody would have found out if it wasn't for social media. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So imagine that tomorrow you're there in the airport and suddenly you figure out even this one is not your own in your country.
Wow.
Yeah. Are we looking at the forest issues? Have you seen the breakdown of the forest issues and people trying to lease our land just to do their own toxic things because we are so greedy. We just keep asking for more money, and we're going to take money from anyone. We are not even considering the long-term issues. So for me, we are in the right direction because the conversation is happening.
Yes.
The awareness is there. I have understood the Constitution more in this period than I did. Mm-hmm. I have understood so many policies in such a short time. This is the first time there's a day I was on X the whole day. I have been in that thing for years. I've never even been there for an hour. But I was there listening, like this is an opportunity for me to learn. And I did. And for the president to come back and say, oh, hata hawakukua hiyo miti. I was there by myself. Yet he talked to Kenyans. Mm-hmm. Was very funny. Yes. There's this thing we call in counseling masturbatory language. Yes. And we believe it's a language that's used by psycho people. Something is wrong in their head. And that's who our president is. Things must be a certain way. It's his way or not any way at all.
Unasema rais ni kama ni wazimu.
Amesema ni masturbatory
language.
Okay, mimi ndio nimesema.
I shall not be quoted. So masturbatory language is where even in the homes where if a father says something, he says this must be done. There's no negotiations. Yes. So we might have to go through these 3 years dealing with the masturbatory part of it, where things have to be his way. Mm-hmm. And then in 2027 deal with. But I want to remind us that the Ruto must go ideology is not kicking out the president. Yes. It is dealing with the things he should have done as a president to help this country be better. So he's the symbol of the national all-round issues that people are raising. Yes. So it is easy to say Ruto must go. Yes. Otherwise, we would have said the presidency must go. Yes. And that would also represent 100 other people who work with him. Mm-hmm. So the Ruto must go issue is not fighting against him. Mm-hmm. So let's not say, But also people are saying, but akikataa pia kuchange, akikataa kufanya hizi vitu tunasema, if he's not complying with our needs and demands and requests at this time, it's also okay for him to go. But he's a representation.
Actually, it should be noted that we are not we're not playing very safe with our language. Yes. Ruto must go would mean everything, both literally and deeper. Yes. That it means everything bad about the government, and if he's the main enabler and does not want anything to change, he equally must go. Yes. And the Constitution allows us even to ask him to go. Yes. We can actually ask him, in all fairness, to just resign. Yes. Nasema mimi ukweli mlinipea kazi na imenishinda. Ndio ili nimewawachia. Peni mwingine. You remember at some point in the previous regime, Uhuru got to the media and was like, hii nimejaribu sana, unataka nifanye nini? Yes. Uhuru was very honest because now imekuwa ngumu. Ruto must equally come out very honest and say, hii ukweli inanishinda na nimewawachia, mupatia mwenye mnataka. So Ruto must go is exactly what it is. Anything bad about the government that he hates, and everything bad about himself.
Yes. So you alluded to the fact that Ruto must go is not only the person, but what he has said.
What he stands for.
What he stands for. But
just before you pose the next question, there is actually a thing we need to put a lot of education around. I said, and I respect the law very much. Mm-hmm. And the Constitution says the president can write back to Parliament on his reservation about any bill. Yes, and the finance bill was just but one. Yes. The scare that was in Kenyan minds about 21 days is a scare again that is now behind us. Yes. Because Parliament after recess, and I want to break this down. This might only be the only positive thing I'm saying about this government now, because I don't see any other positive thing. The president wrote back to parliament,
Yes.
rejecting and recommending the deletion of all clauses of the Finance Bill 2024. At the time he was writing, the parliament was in recess for 28 days.
Yes.
So 21 days would have actually lapsed while they were on recess. But it is not a first time parliament is going on recess.
Yes.
Actually, every November they go on recess for a very long period until February.
Yes.
They come back in February. And this recess was not new. So the period will not count if they are on recess.
Yes.
Because on what grounds are we saying it is functional? Yet there is no one to action the reservations of the president.
Yes.
So it really went back to parliament. There was a motion tabled by the speaker around the same thing, and a communique that came from the same speaker on the 25th of July, which must be 2 days ago,
Yes.
is the members of the House agreed to the directive of the president, and the Finance Bill 2024 was rejected in its entirety. So all clauses were deleted. So sasa hii wasiwasi ilikuwa ya 21 days kwa Kenya is a wasiwasi that now should just go. Haiko tena. We don't have a Finance Bill 2024. We will exist in other tax laws that have existed before 2024's Finance Bill, which was just an amendment to all those laws.
Yes.
And things are good.
Okay, so you educated us much, but you've said so some Kenyans are asking, or someone might sit there huko mtaani anauliza, hii tumereject, sasa imerejectiwa, how will we move on forward? Because we know for government to run there must be a budget, so kutaenda aje after tumesha reject?
So I will only expound on this.
Yes.
And I think this actually needed its entire session to just discuss budget making and how significant it is, because that is an area that I'm equally quite passionate about.
Yes.
And I can discuss budget making in circles the whole day to just ensure it is understood. But we have the revenue side of the budget and we have the expenditure side of the budget. The expenditure side of the budget is what is presented in the appropriations bill every year. The appropriation bill, or the notice of the appropriation bill, comes before the finance bill is prepared, so that the government will look at how much resources do we raise through revenue. Do we need to make adjustment in our tax laws so that we can raise more revenues? And on actually funding the expenditure for government is not only tied to the revenue we collect. There is also an allowance for borrowing. Yes. That is room. So we are borrowing, and the finance bill, that is the revenues we will be able to raise. And now we want to look at, is this budget actually serving the majority, or there are some areas that we need to reduce spending on? Like say we have a presidency. Do we need renovation for State House really? No. Already in its state, everyone wants to live there. Even if you go evil. So what more renovations do we want really? And did the president get to occupy that house so that it might be more cozy and comfortable, that he forgets about serving his people? Do we need to renovate the deputy president's house when we have no medicines at the Kenyatta National Hospital?
And it was just renovated just in Ruto's time, by the way, while he was deputy president.
And remember, forget renovation, it was built just towards the end of Kalonzo's term. Before Uhuru, because Kalonzo was the first occupant, and he only, I think, lived there for 1 year. So the house is relatively new. What renovations do we want? I mean,
paintings. They want
new art, new.
Like an entire session to just discuss budget making. But what I was saying, the government must always budget within its ability. So ameshindia kutuambia we cut our suits according to our sizes. So the government must equally cut their suits according to their sizes. That if we are not able to facilitate a 4 trillion budget, let us make it at 3 trillion. And ensure all essential services are given first priority. Something like NGCDF, which takes a lot of billions from the budget, can equally be integrated in ministries so that our MPs cannot have that kitty, and that kitty can be channeled to education, because they say CDF actually finances education. We can take it to the Ministry of Education or dedicate it to just improving education. We can say it does something on security. Let it go to the Ministry of Interior, which actually facilitates all that, and reduce all these duplication of budgets and all unnecessary expenditures in government. So hiyo ndo kitu ambao tunafai tuangalia. That budget ile tuko na hata ukiangalia the austerity measures that this government has tried to propose, they will not employ JSS teachers. Is that not necessary? That should be first priority.
Yes.
Actually, before we even think about the budget to State House, we must think about that. Entertainment budget ya president inatosha kuemploy JSS teachers fully. So why do we need that budget? The president is not there to be entertained, he's there to serve. His salary should be able to entertain him. Ati tunamlipa tena tunamwekea. We all get salaries where we work. Asijawahi ona mahali napewa tena budget ingine kando ya entertainment. Ati sasa wewe
sitting allowance.
ati wewe umefanya kazi vizuri, enda sasa ulewe kwa pesa yetu. I have not seen that honestly. But that is what I'm saying. And I want to agree with her that we're not very much in an area of what next. But I'm saying what next, our bottom line should be, it is good governance.
Yes.
Every other thing we don't care. Don't ask us exactly how. We will get there, but the first way is again the channel of accountability. Kama kuna mtu ameshaamua kuwa mwizi, tukimuita na jina yake na tumwambie yeye ni mwizi, asitukasirikie, ni juu yeye ndo amekuwa mwizi kwanza. Kama angekuwa mwizi hatungemuita mwizi. Ama namna gani?
Yes.
Kama mtu angekuwa muongo, hakuna venye tungesema yeye ni muongo, because sisi hatuko kwa biashara ya kudanganyana. Tuko kwa biashara ya kuambia watu ukweli, na ukweli ni hao wanatufanya tunaiona. Thank you.
Okay, so my last question is about the Constitution. Chapter 6 speaks about integrity. And over the last days, we've seen the president mention the cabinets. India, are we in agreement that he considered that chapter? Are we in agreement? Are we in agreement that he considered that chapter?
With him when he said there are some questions we can't respond to because they already have answers.
Yes.
And it becomes rhetoric. But look at it this way. You were played from the beginning. And the president played a proper game. He knew how to come at Kenyans with this bottom-up economy.
Yes.
He knew his target voters, and he used his whatever wisdom at that time and religion at large to get to where he is now. And at this point, he has nothing to lose. You realize he has nothing to lose except you sending him back home.
Yes.
That's all. And hence comes the conversation of masturbatory language, where somehow he still feels there's nothing you can do to me. And that's why there's this use of force and loss of lives, because I feel like if I push a little harder, you will scare her down and leave me alone, and I continue running the show. So the CIS at the moment and the nomination, it's not valid, because you cannot say with one word that you spoke on TV and told your people that I have listened to you, and hence I've removed all these guys from office because you made a request and you are very clear that they are not doing what they are supposed to do, corruption and all these issues that were raised. So I'm sending them home. And then bring the same people back onto the table to be vetted for now different roles. Some people have been given jobs, you're like, what do they know about that job? Like mining, mining. You're like, dude, do you know anything about mining? Or do you know, like let's leave education behind. We have people, and Kenyans are a learned generation. Like, let's be honest. Wakenya tumesoma. In the world, we are the ones doing doctors and things, degrees and things. Kenyans are creating things out here in foreign land that we can't create here. So if you're looking, and if we honestly took CS's role for qualifications, none of those political classes would be sitting in those CSS offices and PSS. True. Because most of them have not studied anything to do with the roles we are putting them there for. So I just feel like there's this need for political, and especially the presidency, to reward their cronies, to reward their friends. And so these roles are created because some of these roles were not even in the constitution in the first place.
Yes.
There are things that someone came up and decided, because you guys brought a few votes here and there, we reward you with this role, and they're shoving it down our throats. So at this point, no, he's not doing the right thing. And so this is what will continue the maandamano, because the maandamano should stop at some point and we start dealing with all these other issues through court legal processes. We have lawyers. There's enough lawyers. There's
so
enough
many
wisdom
lawyers.
to counter certain things in court processes and things without going to the streets. But now at this moment, the one thing we already turned down is back. So people are going to still want to deal with this one. Yeah.
So, yes.
You asked a question of integrity, and I will maybe say my last words on that. I think you said that was the last question.
That's the last question.
I think accountability is what you do when people are watching, but integrity is basically what you do even no one is watching.
Yes.
So integrity is a question that is very personal. Even as I want to vie for office, be an mheshimiwa anywhere, even as I want to be nominated to serve in any public office, am I myself clean to even want to take that application?
True.
Because I think that is where we are missing it. That we think it is on our application alone, but it is equally on reflection of our personal values. And when that lacks, we only get people who will continue the culture of not following what the Constitution provides for. So the president in himself, even from the word go, did not care about that chapter, and even the Leadership and Integrity Act of Parliament of 2013, which says people who have running court cases, we know some of them might not be guilty until they are proven, but it's already a question. If you have a charge of corruption, how do I give you resources to control in a ministry that controls billions of money, and you have corruption scandals on your name ongoing? You see, so if it started from that point and said, Linturi, we are sorry, you have accusations, you cannot come into my cabinet. Aisha Jumwa, you have cases to handle of people you've either killed or your close friends have killed, you cannot come into my cabinet. And any other name that you must mention. Moses Kuria, you have all these scandals, you cannot come close to my government, and all that. We'd already say the government is cognizant that we need a leadership that is actually of high qualities and standards of integrity. But he already set bad precedents. He elected such people. Alice Wahome. Scandals. I mean, I'm looking at these names and I'm just tired. So, he's not deliberate. And like I said before, Ruto is just but a perennial liar. He will continue lying to us. The new cabinet that is appointed, I'm still looking at the Ministry of Health, that nominee. I looked for her name online. I couldn't find anything about her, so I don't know where she was.
She's on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
you can get a bit of that. There.
But I mean, we need to be very, very keen as a country. And lastly, the recycling. We are 55 million Kenyans. 55 million Kenyans.
Plus.
Let us do simple eliminations. Half of that population is children. So those ones cannot be ministers or anything.
Yes.
So we've removed them.
Yes.
We are left with 27 million.
Yes.
Now 27 million, say the 7 million is elderly. People who don't qualify, actually past retire age. So hao pia tumewatoa. Wakae nyumbani walishaishi maisha yao. We are left with 20 million. Now let us say 20 million, half of that population is young people still in school. Tumewatoa, not qualified. We are left with 10 million. Yes. You want to tell me, in 10 million Kenyans of adult age, hatuwezi pata watu 23 wa kuoccupy cabinet secretaries
and of sound mind, without criminal issues,
without any allegations on them, with nothing. Yani watu wasafi, watu ambao wanajenga hii nchi in their own spaces.
Yes, and they know what they're supposed to do.
Hatuwezi pata kweli. So that we must have Joe come back. Joe? Anyway, it's okay.
The reward system, but integrity, as you said, it's not something we can table in this particular parliament.
Yes.
Yeah, it already defeated itself before we started. Yes, from the onset of voting for him as the president, despite the ICC and everything, then that already failed.
Okay, so our parting shot as we close up. So we'll start with our gentleman here to tell us his parting shot.
People power is greater than the people in power. Keep check.
Short and brief. Christine?
Play your role in whatever capacity. Play your role. You cannot hold other people accountable Well, you're not accountable yourself. So play a role.
Today is me, tomorrow is you. So let us build a greater country. That's my parting shot. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been 8K, the Smile Podcast. Please don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at 8K TV, and we shall keep you informed. Peace out.